Hello, everyone, and welcome back to 7 Days of Christmas. This is day 3. I'm so glad that you're here, and we're going to jump right in. We've been talking about 1 Corinthians 13, and now we're at verses 6 and 7 tonight. So let's look at verse 6. Verse 6 says, "Love takes no pleasure in evil, but rejoices in the truth." This scripture is telling us many things, but I want to make sure that we understand something that is at the very core of this particular text. In order to love, in order to have the highest form of love, which is the love that God has towards us, there is a requirement of understanding what is truth. We are required to be grounded in reality. Think about a parent or parents who see their child. Let's say this little child's name is Akeem. They see little Akeem headed towards the stove. A boiling pot is on it, and Akeem is about to grab the handle of that pot and tip boiling water on himself. Now, his parents have two choices. They could say, "No, Akeem, don't do that," and run and grab him. Or they could say, you know what, pain is subjective. And so boiling water is hurtful to us, but it might not be hurtful to Akeem. So let's see what happens when the hot water, the boiling water hits him. We would think that that parent is crazy and negligent and would want those parents to be arrested. And so it's a similar thing. It sounds extreme, but the point that I'm making is that Akeem's parents, in order to really love him, have to be grounded in a reality of what is good for him. It's the same thing with us. Truth is not subjective, and love therefore is not subjective. And so in order for us to love, we have to understand one very important thing. Nothing good that we have happening in our lives is there because of anything that we've done to deserve that goodness. You or I have done nothing to deserve the goodness and the favor of God. That's what grace means, unmerited favor. And so when we understand that, we will actually relate to others differently. If I believe that anything good has happened to me because I worked for it and I put myself in the right place and time and I wasn't lazy and I deserve it, then that means that the person who is sitting next to me who is being oppressed or is experiencing some really, 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 really terrible circumstance, I'm gonna not have compassion on that person because I believe that they brought that on themselves some way, somehow. And so you can see how some of the challenges that we're experiencing in society today, the oppression, poverty, etc., that some people are experiencing, could be fixed if we had the love of God in us, all of us. And so I'll take it a step further and just go back to the first part of the text that we read. Love takes no pleasure in evil. If we are grounded in the reality that God has poured out upon us unmerited favor or grace, then we also recognize that there's a standard that needs to be upheld. There is something that is morally right. There is righteousness that needs to be upheld. And so even if it's not necessarily benefiting us in that moment, we're going to want to uphold the standard of righteousness. This is why countries have laws, because they want to protect the rights of their citizens. And so if we see laws being broken, we should be upset about that, because somewhere someone is getting hurt, and we don't want to see that. And so it is really beneficial for us to have this idea, this mindset of what love can do for us, right? It can eliminate oppression. It can eliminate injustice. And if this is why something like an idea or a concept like karma is so dangerous, because we don't earn the goodness that happens to us. We just don't. We just receive the goodness of God in our lives. So let's look at verse 7 quickly. Love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Now, we don't have time to go through every single word and what each of them means, but I want to tell you that when you have the love of God in your life, you're able to bear ill treatment, not because you're a glutton for punishment or for pain, but because you recognize that the person that's ill treating you right now is in need of a transformation of their minds. They're in need of saving. And so their need is greater than yours, right? You want to not suffer ill treatment, but that person is in dire straits of being lost, of living a completely miserable life, of ill treating many other people. And so we are able to bear under that because we have the love of God.